Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We've been talking about 7 earths in the context of Surah At-Talaq, ayah number 12. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allahu alladhi khalaqa sab'a samawati wa min al-ardi mithlahun. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created 7 skies and created 7 earths. يَتَنَزَّلُ الْأَمْرُ بَيْنَهُنْ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands descends between them. لِتَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And this information is being told to you so that you know that indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of everything. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ أَحَاطَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عِلْمًا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala certainly encompasses all things in His knowledge. And also, Surah Ash-Shura, ayah number 29, that وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. That it is from the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He created the heavens, He created the skies and the earth. وَمَا بَثَّ فِيهِمَا مِنْ دَابَّةٍ. And all living beings He dispersed throughout both of them. So all the heavens, all the earths, everywhere you go, you will find Allah's creations. وَهُوَ عَلَى جَمْعِهِمْ إِذَا يَشَاءُ قَدِيرٌ. And He is certainly all capable of bringing them all together. So these are the 2 ayahs that we have been talking about. And today, this is part number 4 of this series. And today we'll be looking at the work of Ali ibn Burhanuddin Halabi. I think I've shared this with you before. His famous work on the Seerah of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is being reported in Sir or Seerah Halabiyah. In this volume number 1, he talks about the creations that have happened before Adam alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spread jinn on the planet Earth 60,000 years before Adam alayhi salam. And even before Adam alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created other beings. They were like beasts and animals. And with these beasts and animals, you can presume them to be dinosaurs. You can presume them to be other beings that could be close to human beings, but were not humans. And were certainly not capable of doing things that humans can. And were not as mannered as humans are, or didn't possibly had the same dietary regulations as human has or had. So these could fall in any kinds of things. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran al-Kareem in Surah Al-Fatiha says, all praises for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, who is the Rabb of all the worlds. And that is why when angels were told about the creation of Adam alayhi salam, the angels' response was that, are you creating a being over here to take over as a Khalifa who will cause bloodshed, who will fight with each other? So it looks like angels had been exposed to similar beings in the past. That's why they right away came to that conclusion. And also here, Allama Halabi says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after creating these animals and beasts, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala finished them all off before Adam alayhi salam was sent. And that's exactly what we know about dinosaurs as well. A lot of the people are of the view that maybe, because the modern science have dug up these skeletons, so that's why people are making these kind of claims now. But this book has been written several hundred years before. So how is it there was no sign of dinosaurs at that time when Imam Halabi wrote this book? So it is not possible that he was inclined by these kind of researches that have come forward right now. As Imam Halabi's time frame is at least 400 years ago. And at that time, nobody knew about dinosaurs. And by the way, if you are wondering what is his name is Ali. He's the son of Burhanuddin, and he's from the Halab, which is in modern day Syria. And he also spent a great deal of time in Cairo. And he was Shafi'i when it comes to the jurisprudence. Anyway, so that's one more thing he talks about. Then he says that it has also reached me The jinns were categorized in different kinds of jinns. There were jinns that were called baz. There were jinns that were called tam. There were jinns that were called ram. Similarly, jas and bas. And these are not the same types or same creations. These are different creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that do not consider that baz, tam, ram, has and bas are exactly the same things. They're different creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they're sometimes categorized as jinns. They cause great unrest on the earth, and as a result, there were several wars between them. So I wanted to give you this background information about the kind of information that is available in Muslim text. And this has been going on for hundreds of years, but people haven't had a chance of exploring this knowledge or this data. Now let's get to the seven earths concept, or one of the narrations that I brought forth that comes from Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu that we spoke about, where he says that do not think that this earth is the only place where things exist. However, he said when somebody asked him to explain this وَمِنَ الْأَرْضِ مِثْلَهُنْ, at one point he says, yes, on each and every earth there is an Adam like your Adam, like there is a starting point, like you have a starting point. Similarly, there is Jesus like your Jesus. And we have talked about that in great deal when we were here the last time. And he also once asked that, can you please explore this in more detail? And his statement was that if I do, you will not believe in what my explanation is. As a result of your denial, you will basically become a kafir. So here I am in the context of the same thing. I'm bringing you a story of Sheikh Muhyiddin rahimahullah, which is again reported by Imam Halabi in Siyar volume number 1, that Sheikh Muhyiddin, he himself says that once I was doing tawaf of Kaaba and I came across qawm that I didn't recognize them as to who they are and what they are. When I was looking at them with the questioning eyes, one of them approached me and said, do you not recognize me? And I said, no, I have no idea who you are. The man said, I am among the earlier creations, which look like humans, but they're not. And then when I asked him how long ago that was, he told me a time frame that I said, that is a very long time. How can you be from the children of Adam? And he said, which Adam are you talking about? The one that is closest or the one that is farther? That means there have been several Adams, which means that there are several starting points for different creations. Each creation had its own starting point. And Sheikh Muhyiddin says that upon hearing this, it reminded me of that narration that the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created 100,000 Adam. That means there has been 100,000 different kinds of beings that have been created, and they each had their own starting point. So maybe this being that I came across was from another Adam from a different times, living in a different dimension. Allah knows the best. Similarly, Ibn Abi Dunya brings a narration that once Prophet ﷺ came into a group of companions who were sitting there and talking and thinking, and the Prophet ﷺ asked them, what are you thinking about? They said, we are thinking about the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prophet ﷺ said that it's okay to think about the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but never question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Never get confused about your God. Now, remember, listen to me. Out in the west, there is a land. The land is white. It glows everywhere. And in it, there is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is always obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, then is there no Satan or Iblis in that land? And the Prophet said, they don't even know that there exists an Iblis. And they ask, are they not humans? And the Prophet said, They don't even know about the existence of Adam. In another narration that I discussed with you, I believe in part number 1 of this series, that Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates this, that once Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting among us, and there were companions around him, and a piece of cloud went past their heads, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked them about what is it, and the companions said, Allah and His Prophet knows the best. And the Prophet said that this is Anan. And there's a detailed narration that I talked about where the Prophet ﷺ asked him about what is above it and what is above that. And then all the way through the 7 skies he talked about. And he talked about the distance between them, which I told you what exactly that means in Arabic linguistics. Then the Prophet ﷺ asked him, okay, you are on earth. What is beneath earth? And they said, Allah and His Prophet knows. And he said, there is another earth. And then there is another earth. And beneath in space is solely contextual, because nothing is above and below in space, because space is like a stretch of a big cloth in which there are dips, and wherever you are in that dip, everything else is above. And when you are there, wherever you were before is above. So the context of above and below is very, very circumstantial in space. And the Prophet ﷺ said that if you were given a rope that could go from one earth to another, to another, to another, and you get to the 7th earth, even there you will find everywhere Allah's creations and Allah's qudrah. And then Prophet ﷺ recited the ayah from the Quran, هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن وهو بكل شيء عليم. And this is reported by Imam Ahmad and Imam Tirmizi. Similarly, in this very ayah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَتَنَزَّلُ الْأَمْرُ بَيْنَهُنْ, that means that divine commands descends down among all of them, between all of them, and the qada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hukm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is implemented everywhere. Revelations are sent to them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands are sent to these places. And Mufassirun have written this in their tafsir, that do not consider that earth is the only place where beings exist. There are other places also that are in the form of planets, where exist Allah's creations that you are unaware of. And these details are written under Surah At-Talaq, ayah number 12. And that is why Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu was so reluctant talking about this particular subject matter in front of common men, so that their iman doesn't get affected, means they go in the state of denial and will become kafir. That is why Mujahid rahimahullah alayh, who was a student of Abdullah ibn Abbas, said that when Abdullah ibn Abbas was asked about this particular ayah, that what are the 7 earths and can you explain them in great detail, he said that if I explain this ayah, if I give you the tafsir of this ayah, a lot of you will become kafir, and your kufr will be that you will deny it. And similar thing has been reported by Saad bin Jubair, who said when Abdullah ibn Abbas was asked about this particular ayah, he said that I will not explain it to you because I'm afraid that you will deny it and will become kafir. And this is reported by Ibn Jarir al-Tabri and also reported by Abd ibn Humayd. So that is why the words of Abdullah ibn Abbas, as reported in several works of tafsir like Ibn Jarir, Ibn Abi Hatim, similarly Imam Hakim in Al-Mustadrak, Imam Bayhaqi in Shu'b al-Iman and Al-Isma'i was-Sifat, brings this particular hadith which I've talked to you about this in this particular lecture and also in the previous lecture, that في كل أرض نبي كنبيكم وآدم كآدم ونوح كنوح وإبراهيم كإبراهيم وعيسى كعيسى. That in every earth there is a prophet like yours, and there's an Adam like yours, and there's a Nuh like yours, like Ibrahim like yours, and Isa like yours. And I've also explained to you and in great detail about the sihha of this particular narration. Imam Zahabi also states that this hadith is at the category of sahih. And Ibn Hajar has reported this in Al-Fath al-Bari, and Ibn Kathir has also mentioned this in his work of tafsir. However, some ulama are against it as well, who have categorized it as non-sahih. So there is a difference of opinion when it comes to this particular narration. Well, the bottom line is, on every Earth-like planet, there is a being. Allah knows best the details of that being. However, we believe that there are beings other than humans. It could be in the universe under the first sky. It could be in the universe between the two skies, as we do not know. There may be universes between each and every sky as well. And we are in the universe under the very last sky, which is the seventh one coming down or descending down. That's why Allama Alusi wrote this, that without a doubt, I believe that there are other Earths like our Earth, and there are other beings like our beings. And there are creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in each one of those Earth-like planets, where there are beings which are spiritually more elevated than the other beings. And he also wrote that it is also possible that 7 is not just an exact count, but a point of reference. It is possible that there are more than 7 Earths. And it is also possible that there are more than 7 layers of heavens or skies. Because 7 could mean at least, not necessarily means equals to 7. That's why he writes, and when we talk about the distances between the skies, and we see the word 500, the number 500, it doesn't mean it's 500 by number. It could also mean it's a massive number, it's a huge number that you cannot comprehend. هو من باب التقريب للأفهام. It doesn't mean exactly 500 when you measure it in any kind of quantity, but it could mean something that people can comprehend, that it is a very long distance. And also, according to the recent research, for example, the one by the RAND Corporation, when they started looking at the universe, they gave this conclusion that there is a likelihood that there may be other Earth-like planets where there be beings. So in conclusion, the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not limited to the planet Earth alone. He's capable of spreading them wherever He wants to. And it is also likelihood that they will all be gathered on the Day of Judgment. It is not just for us alone. Because in Surah Ash-Shura, ayah number 29, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَهُوَ عَلَى جَمْعِهِمْ إِذَا يَشَاءُ قَدِيرٌ. And He is all capable of gathering them all in one place. And Allah knows the best. And this brings us to the end of the 7 Earths episodes that we have been working with. Inshallah, we will get to our other series, The World of Souls, starting next time.